and welcome to yet another edition of the Sustainability Track here on African Renaissance TV with me, Mohamed Bibaji. Today's topic of discussion is going to be aquatic ecosystems and sustainability. We have a very good link as far as our environment is concerned. The connection between humans and our environment is something that cannot be understated. And for that reason, I have a very special guest to form a discussion around this topic. And before we kick on the discussion, we will take a second to allow him to introduce himself and tell us who he is, where he works, and what background he has as far as our topic of discussion is concerned. And from there, we kick on the discussion. Mr. Hydra, thank you for accepting our invitation to come onto the Sustainability Track here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baji. It's a pleasure to be here on this platform. I am Mohamed Hydra. I am the current Secretary General for Gambia Environmental Alliance, and I am also an undergrad university student that studied biology as a major, and also a passionate environmental activist and a human rights, advocate as well, working with Amnesty. Thank you.
That's quite interesting, especially given the topic we have here today, the ecosystem, and then aquatic ecosystem to be precise, and sustainability. Sustainability becomes a topic that we are so concerned, as far as like an environmentalist would always say, without sustainability, our environment wouldn't be that important to us. And to kickstart this, I want us to form a base for our discussion, and from there it can be an interesting one, because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those topics that we really looking forward to as a society, as a people. So the first question would be, what is an aquatic ecosystem?
Well, aquatic ecosystem can be referred to as the interconnection of living organism in a specific body called water body environment, because it comprises of different
different species.
No, it comprises of different bodies actually. Okay. Like the water body itself, we have like we have the brackish water. We also have fresh water. Okay. We also have salt water. So this is what comprises of the aquatic body itself. So then when we look at the freshwater aspect, and then we could see that that one which is fresh water, that shows that it has no salts. And then also there are special marine species that are also found in those freshwater body as well. And then when we look at the freshwater also play a key role in the aquatic ecosystem, because that's where most of our water supply, especially when you look at the Gambia, our lakes, our ponds, all these things are part of freshwater ecosystem. That's where we have our drinking supply from. And then we look at like the saltwater body, that is the marine. Some call it marine, the marine water, because it's made of salt. It has high percentage of salt. So that area also, that's what we refer to as our ocean. And in this area, that's where we have also we have different marine species as well, that live on those areas. So obviously, and then we look at the brackish water as well, which is very important, because the river Gambia is a mixture of both fresh and
it has both
fresh and exactly, yes, and salt water. So which make it very interesting, because in that brackish water as well, there are certain species of organisms that they can only thrive within that limit. So which is very important, especially when you look at like issue of mangrove. Some of them can only live within those areas, so which is very important.
Interesting. That is a good background, especially for the topic we have here.
Yeah.
And talking about fresh water and then the hard water or salty water, some might say. I want to look at this link, the connection between humans and the aquatic ecosystem. This is a quite interesting one.
Of course.
You want to take us through that relationship?
Of course. When we talk about aquatic ecosystem and in relationship to human, it's very important, because it shows that how human benefit from the ecosystem of the component of water.
In many ways.
So, and in that being the case, then we can look at it from as I started first with the water supply, because the reason why in the Gambia, anywhere you go, you have water supply is because, the river Gambia split the country into two, that is from south and north, and then making it water supply very easy and accessible.
So access
is very easy. And then we also have the Atlantic Ocean from the west as well. And then not only that, in relationship to human, we can look at it from the economical aspect, when we look at the issue of our seaport, we know that it's one of the country main area where we generate most of our income. So that shows you how important we sometimes we call it blue economy. That's what we mean, aquatic economy. Okay. So we call it the blue economy, and that shows you how important that sector is. And when you look at how the port is generating in south of ship, harbor, and everything, how the port is operating, that is all part of the aquatic ecosystem benefit. And then not only that, even from recreation, like when most Gambian during Sunday, we normally go to the beach side. We also have pleasure, having picnics, and some people go for diving, some people go for kayaking. All these things are something that is benefiting coming from that is showing the relationship between the human and the aquatic. Okay, yeah. So then we have series of areas where human and the aquatics are engaged. Are always having that relationship. Some even spiritually. Some goes to the water body, some have spiritual connection with them. It's a traditional belief. So, all these things are important aspect of the relationship between human and aquatic. So it's a lot of things.
That's huge. It's
exactly.
something that we can talk about
exactly.
from doomsday.
Exactly.
But those are important facts. And then the importance of aquatic, like you said, to the human is something that we cannot exhaust as far as our topics are concerned.
Yeah.
But I want us to talk about the challenges.
Of course.
Because of late, especially within our societies here, especially in the Gambia, it has become somewhat a conscious or a sensitive topic to in fact discuss, because we have that huge relationship. But then there are challenges that we are facing as a society that we must take steps towards. But before we talk about what solutions can we proffer as a people, what are some of these challenges that we are facing as far as our aquatic ecosystem is concerned, in the Gambia especially?
Yeah, this is a very important question because currently our aquatic ecosystem is facing a series of challenges, and which is due to human activity, some even due to natural phenomena like due to climate change. So I will first start with the issue of overexploitation in the area of fishing. That has been a serious concern because the fish stock in the river Gambia, we don't know how many fish stock are we left with, and we are still exploring it, and with no limit, and all these things are threat. Even they say a term that we international term that we call IUU, which is called illegal, unregulated, unreported, fishing. So this thing happen with this due to trawlers use it. Sometimes they can be doing fishing activity and they might end up catching endangered species and they will not report it. So if these things are not reported, we cannot know how much are we losing. So all these things are threat to the aquatic ecosystem. And not only that, even the issue of climate change as well we are talking, because sea level rise is growing. So most of our coastal river banks are facing what we call erosion. Others are facing due to salt intrusion. And all these things, loss of oxygen, dissolved oxygen in those areas, affecting the Catadomos species that are coming to breed in those areas. So all these things become a challenge. And then even the most amazing species that we have within the flora species that we have, that is the mangrove, are now being threatened due to development.
That is a big concern, especially a big threat to not just us who living now in this present generation, but for the next generation.
Yeah, exactly, for the future generation.
There is a fear that if at this rate that we are going, if there is no mitigating solution,
of course,
the next generation might look at that as history. These are some of the things that they may not benefit from. So it's important to clarify that.
Definitely, yeah. It's already happening because the reason why Gambia is now known, known to be, not now, but known to be a fish hub center. What I mean by where most of the vessels will come and catch large amount of fish is because of, these amazing species we call mangrove. They are within, the Gambia strategic location. They are located at a very strategic area, but it's very sad that, within this country, we don't have, marine protected area. I think Gambia is the only West African country without a marine protected area. If you want to conserve something for the future, to want to manage the stock of fish that you have, you need to make sure you have a marine protected area whereby you say that no one should fish on this area because this is the breeding ground, so that you will not destroy a whole generation.
This is important because when we see the fact that we, today, the present generation is benefiting from this,
exactly,
because that has somewhat been protected,
exactly,
maybe naturally.
Naturally, yeah.
We now must take a step to
exactly because now we are living in a modern generation. Before our, our forefathers used to, fish using local method, we call those ones sustainable methods, because they are not harvesting more than what they don't need. They only harvest what they need.
So there was time for the fish to
rebuild, exactly,
and
grow. But today, we are not only fishing from our own water bodies. We are allowing foreign vessels to come into our water bodies, and they are using advanced technology, trawlers. So these things are actually not only affecting, the fish stock, but also affecting the biodiversity itself. Because trawling is more like, it's a strategy whereby you have to put a net that will have to go under the floor of the ocean, or the floor of the water, the river, or wherever they are fishing,
it is used.
And then you start dragging. That's why you call it trawling.
They tend to take everything along,
exactly,
whatever is needed or not,
exactly,
whatever has been targeted or not.
Exactly. So they normally catch things that they don't even need.
And these are things that are disposed of.
Exactly. So, and then imagine you end up, trawling until you trawl, coral reef. These are very important biodiversity in the ocean, because these are, they serve as an area for different species. They allow, fish and other marine species to come and, spawn around those areas. It brings life back. It's somewhere there fish look at it as a very special area. So, but when you're doing trawling, meaning you are not considering all those things, because you are not seeing what you are trawling. You're only seeing your end product, that is the things that you catch. At the end of the day, you're catching endangered species, so this is a threat. And then the threat do not only stop from there. So, and currently we are talking about natural phenomena of climate change. And then when we look at our crustaceans, things that are made of shell, the crabs, the oysters, they have cells. They are now being threatened due to climate change. And now because of the temperature rises is now threatening our ocean, because now those marine species that are made of shell, because their shell is made of carbon. Okay. And then when acid rain happen, when the ocean is getting more acidified, then it's obviously going to make those shells to easily deplete. So when that happens, then end up destroying those cells. So which is very critical for us to not to only see it as it's a multifaceted threat, but we have to look at it that both nature is on us due to our human activity, that the amount of carbon that we pollute is not affecting our ocean, and then secondly, as we ourselves as human, by doing heavy trawling is something that we need to look into.
It's like one can just say generally there are the existing human efforts or human activities that are posing threats to us, and now we have emerging threats in the form of nature.
Exactly.
This also has an indirect relationship with our human activities in the past.
Of course,
has been able to lead us to this environment.
Definitely.
That is quite threatening, and it's something that, in terms of sustainability, that one must look at this critically.
Of course.
As a generation, as a country, as government, as a people here in the Gambia, and in fact outside of the Gambia, we really need to have checks on this.
Of course.
And this would bring me to the next question on some of the mitigants, some of the solutions that we can proffer as a people. What are some of those strategies that you think we must do as Gambians to tackle this?
Yeah, well, because, it's, I will come to that question, but it's obviously very sad, Mr. Baji, that you look at the Gambia, I always say this, the Gambia, our main natural resources is the river Gambia. But today, Gambians do not even consider the river as our main natural resources. We are thinking of, studying oil, studying things that we don't even have in our country. How can we develop? Imagine, even go and look an institution that needs to move this country from poverty to a developed nation. That institution have not even been looked properly. We don't even have the capacity. We don't even encourage people to study in those areas. That is, the fisheries department. This is the institution that needs to move this country, because this is our natural resources. The fish,
one of the biggest resources, in fact, in terms of
exactly
in line with that. And
exactly.
That is a part that could be that is neglected for
exactly.
many reasons.
We are only harvesting on one sector of the marine resources or the blue economy. That is the transportation aspect. That's why our port is doing extremely well. But it's also affecting the inflation of our economy, because you import more into the country actually. Yeah. So what is happening? Meaning you are encouraging more dominance of foreign currency in your own country. But if I thought that Gambians, we are exporting more fish, more of our own product, I mean, more outside, then obviously our currency will definitely have its scale.
That has a positive link to our economy.
Exactly. But we are only focusing on one sector, that is the transportation sector, but not on the other sector of the fishing activity. But that's where this country could earn millions, because it's a billion-dollar industry. No one tell you this. It's a billion-dollar industry. So, but like they're moving forward to how to mitigate some of these things. I think it's very important for Gambians to start looking at this at a very critical way, because the survival of this country, the survival of our future generation depend on this. It depends on this. Because one, we are talking about pollution. When we look at pollution, we look at agricultural runoff. What is happening? Gambians themselves are killing the river Gambia. Go to areas like Sierra, where our agriculture used to, like before in 1994 toward 1990s, they used to say Gambia used to export granite.
Yeah, it used to be our main cash crop.
Exactly. So, but now that exportation of agricultural goods was killing the river Gambia, because they were using fertilizers. And up to date, people are using fertilizer, and those fertilizers,
the residue of that
fertilizer in the river, because when it rains, the water, the runoff will go to the river. And what happens when fertilizer finds itself, the chemical fertilizer finds itself in the river? It forms what we call, eutrophication. This eutrophication is the overgrowing of, green algae. And when, what happens when green algae cover the entire water body? It does not allow, it becomes a competition between the flora and fauna, meaning the marine species actually. It's a competition between the marine species and the plants. They are both competing for oxygen. So imagine the plants are on top of the water surface. So the marine species that are below, they will not have no oxygen. And when that happens, you are killing an entire you are killing one sector of the ecosystem, that is the fish.
That is artificially our acts that are really killing off whatever we have under that particular
exactly
level.
Yes, and not only from that, even drinking fresh water, you are also polluting that aspect as well, because like up to date, people that are from Basse, Sierra, some people still now use the River Gambia for their own source of water. For agricultural and also for drinking. Some use it, some for washing and all that. But now, because of how that water has been contaminated, it's not allowing even people to use it. Now it's becoming less useful than before.
From being turned into for an attack on the habitat of the species that we have in the sea, now it has that direct impact on the humans.
Exactly. Outside. Yes, and then we have to remember, we have to look at it again. This threat. It's not only limited to us, but even the wildlife species like the hippos. Before, people used to use the riverbank and they were able to see hippos. But now, what are the population of hippos in the country? We don't even know that. We are losing some of these precious animal that used to attract tourists, and this also serves as a source of revenue for others.
It's like we are saying as a country, we must go back onto the drawing board as far as the marine life, as far as the aquatic system is concerned.
My brother, water is life.
Indeed, water is life.
So
that is important. I mean, you don't mean to cut it, but before we proceed on that, I would still want us to come on to some of the strategies that we can use as far as serving as solutions and mitigants are concerned. But I want us to take a quick break, and from there we can continue on that. Welcome back from that short commercials. If you are just watching us or joining us from wherever you are, this is the Sustainability Track coming your way from the African Renaissance TV. Our topic of discussion is the aquatic ecosystem and sustainability. And to have a discussion around this, I have Mr. Mohammed Hydra, who is helping us form a discussion around this. So, Mr. Hydra, thank you and welcome back from the break. Like we were talking about the strategies that one can implement as far as the Gambia is concerned to sort of provide a solution to the challenges that we face as our aquatic ecosystem faces in the face of sustainability. What are some of those that we can engage as far as talking is concerned?
As far as the mitigation strategy are concerned and, conservation strategy, I think we can first of all have to work on, establishing a marine protected area, which is very important so that we can protect, the remaining marine species, within our wetlands areas. That's where they spawn. We do need to have a protected site around one of those areas, and then also, we also need to work on, research and monitoring to make sure that, which is very important, we need to know what is really happening to our aquatic ecosystem. In that case, then we can able to address it. So, we can able to know whether are we losing more of, dissolved oxygen? Is the temperature really high? Are we having is the river vegetation? Is the riverline vegetation really depleting, or is something really happening, so that we can have a general clue and know how to address it. And then we should also try to establish what we call a campaign of raising awareness as well is very important, so that Gambians could be aware that this is a potential sector whereby they can harvest, or they can earn a huge amount of sum. We need to advertise this institution so that they can.
It's something that we need to talk about.
Exactly. Exactly. Even in our educational system, even in our university, we need to have a special whole department that work only develop student career on fisheries, develop student career on this sector. So that would really help a lot. So, and then we also need to work on our transportation system, whereby not it only for it to be stopped at Banjul, but even we can be using the river line to be transporting goods from Banjul all the way to Basse. In that case, we can encourage a lot of community within the river bank to be engaged in the business, whereby you don't need to be focusing on the road to avoid traffic congestion, pollution and others. Then we can be working on those things. So all these things can be a part of solution that, and even also work on as well, and in policy and regulation as well is very important. In this framework, I think then we can able to come up with certain laws that will be able to guide the flow of the river, and also help others key sectors, so that they can able to play their role in terms of mitigating the pollution control the pollution that is going to the river. It's very important, because we need to understand that there are some marine species living in those areas, so we don't need to be polluting them. We don't need that. We don't need to threaten their life with pollution. So
it's like people need to be conscious of our own activity.
Our activity.
In the quest to earning a living online, we should be conscious that whatever
we do online,
residual that goes into the sea, into the water,
exactly,
can also have that direct impact, not just on us, but on the life that is.
Exactly. So we have that consciousness, we have that understanding, but all those things can be guided by laws and policy. If the law says that if you put a waste that go through the river, you'll be charged with this, or you have a feeder mechanic, you put your oil to the riverbank, this and that will be, will be your charges. Or if you go to the wetland, do not cut certain mangrove, this will be your charges, and then everyone will be more responsible. And even, not only from that, but as well, we even need restriction, restriction in the sense by, limiting the amount of fish that you can catch. In the sense that you need to know that at this time of the season, you don't need to be going for catching. We can have a closer season, whereby, I'm glad that we used to have that in the Gambia here, but it's not very much, it's more active within, within the artisanal fishermen. These are the local fishermen, but not with the foreign vessel. Those are
having high impact as far as that is concerned.
Exactly. So all these things need to be looked at into. So the laws need to make sure that it address those things, so that we can conserve this fish stock that we have in this country. Indeed. And to make sure that it could serve the next generation.
And that is important, because this is the way we can talk about the collaborative efforts of everyone. When there is a government coming up with policies,
these are even solutions as well.
The society also acting as participating in the restoration process.
Of course.
And that is important.
Definitely.
And talking about the restoration process of the society, how impactful, how important would it be as far as the youth are concerned to show responsibility as far as the aquatic life is concerned?
Well, so far I could say the Gambian youths are really championing the restoration, the restoration cause in this generation, because so far all the amazing work that have been done, to restore, to make sure that proper laws, proper regulation are put in place, the closure of the sea, these are all championed by Gambian youths. So this shows you that the youths are almost relaxing. The youths are now looking forward for the next generation, so that they can have something to maintain. You can look at it even at the angle of the fish meal factory operating along our shorelines. We have 3 fish meal factory operating at Katong, Gunjur, and Sanyang. So you could see that the youths are the one complaining that the fish meal factory should not throw their waste within the lagoon,
because serving as a pollutant.
Exactly, those lagoons are also harboring some marine species, and those lagoons, that's where our mothers use for their watering garden. So all these things are challenging that we are trying to mitigate. So obviously the Gambian youth are really championing the fight, and I think we need the support of the government, we need the support of all stakeholders to know that we are not enemies. We are all looking for what is best for our country, and to know what is best for our country, you need to be on the ground. Those people that are on the ground should not be neglected. They should be your number one, partners, because they are the one living there. They are the one that knows the problem. But sometimes I cannot be at the office and be dictating who is on the ground.
It's that difficult. That link in it. Like people that are living it, it's easier for them to come up with the solutions than just being at the helm of affairs and want to dictate every other thing that people do.
So that's why I always accept this slogan: who feels it knows it. So if you feels it, then you know what you need to do. So obviously, I think all these approaches need to be looked at. That's why we are always considering it to be like from bottom-top approach. You need to start from the bottom and you go from the top approach. In that case, then you can able to address it in a very serious way, in a very proper way. That's what we believe.
Those are important. Youth engagement, the societal participation, government taking the responsibility of caring for our environment is an important part as far as the mitigation process is concerned for our aquatic ecosystem. And then the sustainability will thereafter depend on that mostly. I want also to talk about the CSOs and then the NGOs contribution as far as this cause is concerned, especially for the Gambia Alliance.
The Gambia Environmental Alliance.
The Gambia Environmental Alliance, your organization. What are some of those things that you are, as an organization, that you are doing that is really helping this fight?
Yeah, I think the formation of the Gambia Environmental Alliance have really changed the advocacy strategy in this country, and it has really brought light to more environmental work, because the Gambia Environmental Alliance is a composition of over 50 environmental organizations, and all these organizations have been active. They are prominent environmental organizations in the country. But the Alliance unite them so that we could fight one problem at a time. And so far, it has been really successful. When we look at the sector of the marine, that is the topic of concern today, the aquatic ecosystem. We could see that, the Gambia Environmental Alliance in March, we have written a whole report reporting a concern that happened of the over exploitation of marine resources that happened in Sanyang and Gunjur. We happen to report those matters to the National Assembly. That shows that we have a connect. We are using the proper procedure to make sure we report matters to the right authority, that is our our National Assembly members, so that they could see a report was written and recommendations were put. We even report the matter to the respective ministry, that is the Ministry of Water, Fisheries and Water Resources.
That will go a long way in facilitating research-based policies.
Exactly. So that being the case, and then it's not only limiting ourselves from that, but we are also trying to we already started working with one sector of the marine unit, that is the Gambia Maritime Administration, and even National Environment Agency. And then we are also trying to bring the Fisheries Ministry as well, whereby we will continue to do our quarterly big cleanup. Because of in that case we are trying to mitigate the amount of solid waste going into the into our sea, which is a concern. So because we are not relaxing, but the alliance is really pushing up to make sure that I know it's going to be a long way, but actually we are achieving progress bit by bit, and we are definitely glad with all those institutions. They are now, really understanding what we are doing, and now they are trying to collaborate with us so that we can able to mitigate some of the challenges that they are facing. So this is really showing, a sign of progress in the long run.
Those are good signs, and then it is important because when you look at it in a realistic manner, every conscious person will tell you this is one of the those challenges that cannot be overcome overnight.
Yeah, of course,
so
of course.
the steps that you are taking as an organization, trying to bring in all important, relevant stakeholders and to form in the right step. I think that is really in the right steps, and then it's an important step that you are taking out there. I want to look at this at a different angle now to say what can be the given the trend that we have at this rate of the as far as the aquatic ecosystem is concerned. What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah, our worst case scenario is currently, the issue of not knowing the amount of fish stock that we have is a worrisome for this country, because we are really over exploiting and we are not knowing how much is left in our account. It's more like you have an account, you are withdrawing without knowing how much is left in your account.
We can always go negative.
Exactly. So, which is a very, it's a concern, because Gambia is a developing country, and we know, over 200,000 people depend on fish because it's the cheapest protein we could afford. So we make it a very, very serious concern, and I think it's something that we really need to look into to know how much stock are we left with within our bodies, and so that we can know how to manage it. The moment you don't know, you cannot manage. So I think that's where another challenge will come in, and also not only from that, knowing the fish stock as well, but even knowing our protected wetlands are now being degraded. These are all part of the aquatic. These wetlands, harbors, serve as a habitat for seabirds, also serve as a habitat for fish, where they can lay their eggs for spawning. So but right now those areas are also being threatened by erosion, sea level rise. We are losing some of those ecological sites
due to those
due to those natural phenomena. So, but I think it's something that we need to look into, to put up those mitigation measures now, so that we need to adapt and put up a strategy whereby we can prevent some of these things from happening, because we need to look at the long run. If we don't look at the long run, obviously then there's a serious concern that we might not able to solve in the long run. The earlier we know the problem, the earlier then we can start solving the problem.
Indeed, because like the common saying is one of the biggest steps to providing a solution is first knowing what the problem is.
Exactly.
And that is one of the things that is clear in the Gambia, that we can establish to say, okay, this is the problem that we are facing.
Of course.
The aquatic ecosystem has been challenged, and then as stakeholders, from youth to the communities, the society, the government, we all need to have that collaborative step to providing that solution.
Of course.
And CSOs and NGOs in this country should also be that environmentally friendly as far as our activities are concerned, as far as our advocacies are concerned. Because with that, like you have the Environmental Alliance, it's an important step, because that way we know to say, okay, that we have like lots of organizations coming together to champion a cause.
Of course.
And with the support of the stakeholders, I am positive that we're going to mitigate this in the current state, and then going into the future, we'll have a proper solutions to them.
Definitely.
And this is just been alerted that time is that is running out against us. But before we wrap up the whole discussion, we'll allow you to give some final remarks as far as our topic is concerned, and then thereafter we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I will first of all thank this platform for giving me this opportunity to be here, because this is what we need as an environmental activist, to be talking to the masses so that they can know the problem and know some of the solution, and so that we can work together. But I will say this to the general Gambians that or not only Gambians but anyone out there, that we are running out of time. We need to know that climate change is real, and it's something that is really affecting our livelihoods, and therefore it is high time that we come together, we forge as an alliance whereby we can come up with solution that could at least protect this present generation and the future generation that is about to come. So it is a responsibility upon every citizen to make sure that we all know what is right and we know what is wrong. So we started at a one go from ourselves, and to make sure that we can do it together. So therefore I'm urging every Gambian and every citizen out there that is concerned, let us try to work together to mitigate this challenge, because climate change has no boundary, and the boundary is beyond our imagination. Therefore, we have to make sure that we work together and we solve this problem. Especially we from the developing country, we are at a higher risk. Especially the Gambia, that is a coastal country, we are facing the threat of sea level rise. We are losing most of our mass land area. So therefore, it's a concern that we need to look at into to see where we can find solution toward it. Yeah, thank you.
Those remarks from Mr. Mohamed Haidara, an environmentalist, a conscious youth in the Gambia, who is among those championing the cause for a better environment, for a sustainable growth as far as the future generations are concerned. Through the environmentally conscious movements like the Gambia Environment Alliance, it is possible, and we have hope that our continent, our country, and then the world will be safe for the generations to come. And that was all we have for you from this episode of the Sustainability Track, coming your way from the African Renaissance TV. And in case you've not subscribed into our platforms, more of these interesting and important topics of discussion for a better continent. Until we come your way again with more interesting episodes and programs of the African Renaissance TV, I've been Mohamed Bibaji.